thank you for that lovely introduction. Welcome to the customer panel here at DXE Assembly. We've heard lots about what DXE can do today and in the future, and now it's time to meet the people who are actually implementing it and using it every day. I'm joined by some real experts in this field from Cobham Satcom, Strapi, and Kruso. But rather than me tell you how great they are, I think they should just introduce themselves. So Lars, could you take us away, please?
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Lars Ørum Andersen, and I'm the CEO at Kruso, which is a Nordic tech agency in Denmark and in Sweden, where we have our 5 offices. And we had the pleasure to work with Cobham Satcom on this project. We've been around for the last 20 years as a company, focusing on building digital service and commerce platforms for brands like Cobham Satcom and other larger organizations.
And Pierre?
Hi everyone, I'm Pierre. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Strapi. At Strapi, our mission is to empower millions of people to share and manage any content anywhere. And to do so, we've built the leading open source headless CMS with more than 50,000 stars on GitHub, 8 million downloads. Strapi, the most popular open source headless CMS. It's self-hosted and it's completely customizable.
Yeah. Patricia.
Yeah, so I'm Patricia. I'm the digital marketing manager at Cobham Satcom. We are players in the space industry and enable remote connectivity across land and sea. Our various products and solutions, or satellite communication solutions, are used in many industries such as like government, NGO, shipping, cruises, oil and gas, emergency services, satellite operators, and much more. So as you can see, we have a lot of target audiences in our business.
Fantastic. And lastly, I'm your host. I'm Jamie Boland. I lead product marketing here at Uniform. So let's dive in. I think the start of any story is the conflict or the inciting incident. So, Patricia, what were the key factors that made you and your team at Cobham Satcom realize it was time for a change in how you approached your digital experiences?
Yeah, it was an interesting time. So what happened is that we wanted to be best in the industry. There are many knowledgeable people, experts who are incredible at creating innovative products in our industry. But we did some sort of gap analysis, and we saw that there was a gap in terms of digital activities throughout, the landscape of our business. And there are a couple of big players who are mature in terms of digital marketing activities, but in general, that's not really the case. So we took this opportunity to get a competitive advantage, to facilitate getting data and insights through digital tools to create the digital experience needed to engage with potential customers. And, we didn't just want to build a website and just roll it out within a year, because technology changes quickly, and we wanted to be sure that we're adjusting according to our business needs and also the trends that are out there. So it was important to get a website up and running quite quickly and activate a digital framework as soon as possible and start getting insights, results, and optimize throughout the way, to not waste time.
No, we don't like to waste time around here.
No.
You've talked about wanting to get up and running very quickly, but also that this is a very long-term project that you're planning to evolve. How did you balance those needs when you first began?
Well, yeah, the needs were basically, first of all, having a website up and running really quickly, and we've managed to do that within 4 weeks. And I'm very proud of this achievement, and thanks to everyone who was involved. And I think we first tackled the short-term quick wins, which was really important to show, we can do this, to bring the spirits up, and then having those midterm goals that we have selected. And it's all about, there's no end to it. It's always like a next milestone that we want to achieve, and we're just doing our best and doing it as fast as we can. And yeah, that's how we're dealing with it.
Fantastic. I think there's a thing we say here a lot is that, a website isn't a project, it's a product in its own right. It's, you don't finish with it ever.
Mm-hmm.
So Lars, when Patricia and the team at Cobham Satcom reached out, what was your first reaction about the project?
Well, well. Yes, I think my first reaction was very much aligned with what Patricia said. The way they laid out the project and their thoughts about how to run it very much is in line with how we believe you should run digital projects, that it's not a big go live in 12 months, but that is an ongoing iterative thing, and we like showing results fast and get off the ground and try to simplify things that is actually very often very complex. On the challenges in the project, I thought they were both a little bit scaring, but also indeed very interesting. I mean, from a business perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense, and things that many companies oversee, where marketing, and especially within corporate website builds, it's more of a static thing, and it's a thing that doesn't really do very much else than maybe communicate some values and some stock news and something like that. But so going in and saying we want to make marketing being a real revenue driver by focusing on lead generation and having a clear product focus, I think was a very ambitious strategy to pursue, and I think we could see a lot of challenges in for us as well. In terms of the timing and the plan and the needs for governance around it, where it was very clear for us that the Cobham and the team there had a big needs for both internally and as well as externally to show fast results and drive change. As I said, I was a little bit scared because, I mean, what it in the end meant is that you have to launch a corporate global website, at least with the first parts of it, within 4 weeks. I don't think that's seen very often. So I knew from the beginning that this would require a special setup, both in terms of the technology choice, but certainly also in terms of the way we work together and the governance model around it. I think that was the first things. And as I said, I think there was a match, and I think we were sharing these beliefs and thoughts about how you do it. So that's also why we dared kind of stick our neck into it and get our hands dirty on it.
Is using composable architecture how you approach most projects, or was there something particular about the speed or the nature of this project that made you choose Uniform and Strapi in this technological setup?
I think there were many reasons for us choosing a composable architecture. First thing was that we already had a very strong CMS in it, Strapi, which is a headless thing that gave us opportunity to actually go that way first. But also, as Patricia talked about, there were both short-term and long-term goals on this, and it also had a very iterative approach where we had to make decisions that we maybe was quite likely we would change them down the line, because I mean we didn't have much time to think about it or make a lot of analysis. We just want to put it out and have them try, fail, and optimize kind of approach to it. So we needed a system flexible enough to also in the long run have an easy and flexible way of maybe changing system out or changing integrations, getting other data sources in, and these things. So in that sense, a composable architecture and all the flexibility and agility it brings on a longer run made a lot of sense. But it also often comes with a lot of complexity to install these systems, because there's all kinds of integration stuff and there are customizations, and because these systems are often very open. But I mean, adding especially Uniform to it made that we could also cater for the short-term needs, which was to get the marketing team up and running extremely fast with working on content and starting composing pages. And that kind of took a lot of the complexity out of that, of building composable architecture. So, I mean, with the special stack we ended up with, we could both cater for the short-term stuff, meaning getting content production and building pages up and running almost immediately, while at the same time securing that we get a system that in the long term is adaptable, is agile, and is flexible enough for us to do changes fast, also when the system grows and gets bigger. So I think there were many reasons for going with a composable architecture in this project.
Let's talk a little bit about Strapi before we come back to Uniform. In bringing in Strapi as a headless CMS, how have your team found working with it? What's been really jumped out about working with Strapi?
Yeah. So first of all, it's a very intuitive tool. It's easy to use, and one of the striking things that I think that made our lives easier is just the fact that we have those components that we define in there and that we can reuse on different pages that we can link to uniform. And that's something where we really, save time and it's effective, and, we can create dynamic content with it. I mean, it's just, really a good tool to use. That's the striking thing for me.
Thanks, Patricia, for mentioning this, and happy to hear that you've been enjoying using Strapi. And I think there's one important thing, especially as we are all at DXC Assembly today, which is all about composability. And when we talk about this composable architecture, we often talk about the integrations between tools, because this is what composability is about. It's about modularity and connecting tools together. And I think there is a very important kind of backbone which is shared across these tools, and especially when it comes to building websites. And it's actually this notion of components. So a component is a piece of website that you can reuse across different pages. And we actually introduced this concept in Strapi. So content editors can have more autonomy, and they can reuse this component that are configured by developers. And then the content editors can reuse this different components all over the place without reaching out to the developers, to the engineering teams. And so when we've built the integration with Uniform, we really use these components to reflect the content structure across the tools, so across Strapi and Uniform. So that's where we make sure that the integration is seamless. So composability is so much more than this data integration, but it's also about offering a way to users to seamlessly use this tool and having some cross feature capability that you can use in any tool.
Thank you, Pierre. That's, I love to talk about what it's actually like for the people who are working with this content day to day. I am a marketer. I'm very biased. I think marketers should be looked after very nicely. But to bring it onto the technical side, Lars, how did you and your team approach integrating Strapi and Uniform and turning that into, both a quick system to deploy and something really sustainable and long-term for Cobham Satcom?
Yeah. Talking about Strapi, I mean, it shouldn't be a secret that this was actually our first Strapi project. We hadn't worked with it before. We knew the system. We've been seeing it out there. We weren't following it, but we hadn't had the chance to work on it. So that was also nice to get that chance. And also what Pierre touched on, the whole part about the whole focus around components fitted very well into our ideas about using a Uniform, where the whole idea is to pulling in components and elements from other systems. So that clean architecture and technical logic behind Strapi fitted perfectly into our ideas about Uniform. So in that sense, it was a very well chosen system, I think.
Fantastic. We love to hear it. So I think maybe the defining feature of this project is how quickly you were able to go live. 4 weeks of build on a corporate site is, the kind of thing that gives agencies nightmares normally. They're not normally sitting in panels talking about how great it all was. We talked about how Strapi and Uniform enabled that on the technical side, but Lars, how did you do that on the non-technical side of how you handled the project, working with Cobham and internally?
Yeah, I mean, beyond the technology, it was clear for us that the key to success here was to build up a special governance model and a cooperation that we could almost call it a hyper agile approach or process. So we went through we headed into the project with a clear MVP approach, reliable product approach, which means that we focused on delivering as much value as fast as possible. I mean, by keeping very short sprint cycles and focusing on which elements and features actually gave the most value first. So it's all about getting something to the market and get some stuff out that is the most important stuff, that you maybe hit 80% of what you need in targets in the first 20% of the time frame you have in the project, and that was very important. So that was a project approach. In terms of The cooperation, I think we have had an extraordinary cooperation with Cobham, because I think everyone who has worked with large and global enterprises know how long approval and review and iteration cycles can take. There's always many people who need to be taken into account, and all these things. And we had to kind of surpass that and kind of just pass that. And in that sense, have a very tight cooperation and have a lot of transparency and trust in each other that it will work and that we can change it over time. I mean, if we didn't have the content we needed, we just built something else and the content came later, and the other way around. So it was being synced up almost on an hourly basis throughout these 4 weeks. And we worked with what we had and we adjusted afterwards. This is also why a system that was so flexible was, fitted very well into both the governance model around it and the way we cooperated around it. So I think not to ignore the technology, but the project approach and the governance part and the cooperation model around it is as much key for actually succeeding in this than the technology in it. But the technology definitely was an enabler to it. But I think as much as this goes into the process we had around it.
I would absolutely agree. It is that just adding the technology and working in an old-fashioned way isn't going to make that impact, and just changing how you work with old monolithic technology is also not going to work. I think there's a real kind of mindset shift that goes with that composable technology and composable mindset that Cobham have really embraced, and here at Uniform, we think about this a lot too. Pierre, what do you think about this kind of balance of the composable technology and mindset?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think one of the benefits of composability is having the choice of choosing the best technology for each requirement. And to me, that's definitely the most important benefits for any company that wants to migrate a website from monolith or just want to create a new website. Having that choice is quite amazing, because with a monolith architecture, you will probably use one tool that is good at plenty of different things, but certainly not excellent at one thing. And with this new composable architecture, you can say, okay, this is what I want for personalized content, because that's the best piece of technology out there. And then you might want to connect it with segment, for example, because that's what you already use, for example. And then you want a CMS that is great at that specific thing. And it's, you have this choice, and this is quite unique. In the past, you were using like that big tool, and well, if some of the features in that tool were not as great as you want to do, it was really hard and sometimes just not possible.
Just got to live with it.
That's exactly. And I think one of the best analogies regarding composability is really about Legos, and you can take all of these little bricks that you want and build your own house. And speaking of a house, if you want to build a house, you won't ask only one person, only one company to do it, but you will need, plenty of different expertise, and you certainly want to make sure that you're working with the best plumber and so on and so on. And this is something you can do now with composability. And especially there are more and more integrations out there, and not all integration is created equal. So it's really important to make sure that you work with the best vendors who have the best integrations. And if you do, it will be extremely powerful for your company, because there is no limit.
I love that analogy of building the house. If your plumber just went, yeah, sure, I can do the electricals, it'd be fine. You would be suspicious. You would worry about being electrocuted. I think you've all spoken to the fact that with this project for Cobham Satcom, there were, Strapi was in place when Kruso came in. Patricia, you segment. Lars, how did Uniform and DXC unlock your ability to deliver great results? Not tearing everything out, not taking a total greenfield, I need to change everything approach, but adapting to the tools that are there and the realities of the project.
Yeah, sure. I think Uniform came, I would love to hear that, but I think it came as an obvious choice, or I would say almost a necessity to have a DXC strategy for this, because as I also touched on very early in this panel discussion, there were both short-term goals and also longer-term goals and needs for this project. I mean, and third thing, as you say, there were already systems in place. We had Strapi and Segment already around, and there were no chance that we, in a 4 weeks time frame, would be able to have the first launch and have these systems integrated without having one system that kind of could drag in all the other stuff and take some of the pain out of all the integration work and the customization things. So I mean, implementing composable software can be quite complex, but I mean, with Uniform as the foundation for both integration and the components, and not least being the main interface for Cobham's content team, we could secure both basic implementation so that Cobham could get off the ground composing pages, but we could also ensure that we, for the longer term, had a system that was flexible enough for us to do the changes and we needed down the line. I think we will probably down the line change the data stores, and we will probably change some systems or add some stuff to it, but we can do that very flexibly now, and we still had the team up and running within almost day one, and we're live after 4 weeks. So I think in that sense, Uniform was, or DXC was absolutely key to both hit the short-term and the long-term needs and goals we had to hit in this project. Besides that, I think there were other things that kind of ticked off some boxes here. We had a need for fast page loads to optimize performance, which is something that Uniforms can deliver as well, and also fast composing of pages and the ease of use within Uniform were great. And also further down the line, it gives us opportunity, especially with the Segment implementation in place, to work with personalization and A/B testing as well, which was a requirement that came further down the line. So I think Uniform came in very timely in this project.
That is lovely to hear, and it's really, really great to see the impact that it's having. And speaking of impact, Patricia, we've talked a lot about the needs and setting it up, but this is live. Could you please tell us about the impact and the results that you've had at Cobham Satcom?
Yes, so one of the things that was really like the biggest impact that we had was the improvement of the speed of digital delivery in the company. That was really something that a lot of people noticed as well, and the fact that we generated leads quite quickly as well. And I think these are the two most biggest improvements that we've done. And of course, having more, having leads, generating leads, and having a new digital setup, this comes, of course, with new challenges. In the past, our sales force, they have been meeting people on shows and events. It was like a physical networking. And now, with a new digital setup, which covers this full planet, the leads are coming from anywhere and at any time. And now it's about finding the right workflow with sales. And, we are building all parts of the lead generation system or engine. And it's challenging in a good way. But yeah, I think these are the main, achievements that we've done.
Yeah, too many leads is what we call a luxury problem around here.
Yeah, that is true.
And that's so gratifying, I think, for all of us on the call to see the impact and the value that combining Kruso, combining Uniform and Strapi have been able to bring so quickly and such an immediate impact. So beyond the business results, how has it been day to day for you and your team working with Strapi and Uniform?
I think it has been good because we've been able to be fast. Speed was one of the things that really was, visible in our team, that we could just get any request from a team, one of the verticals, and we could basically create the content and the page on the next, and upload it and publish it the next day, which is honestly a tremendous change from how it has been before. The reactivity. This is another point. Working with internal teams. In the past, they would have make a request and it would take several. Yeah, I don't want to go into numbers, but it would take a longer time, to
Too
get
long.
too long up and running on the website, which is sometimes already too late. So having that ability to relieve that type of, let's call it pain, having those long cycles is great, because before we were riding a bike and now we are driving a Maserati. This is how fast we're now.
Fantastic. I'm so glad that the team is really taken to it and able to deliver so well. Pierre, composable systems and headless are not notorious for editors and marketers and other business teams loving to work with them. But it sounds like you have some big fans over at Cobham Satcom. How do you how do you approach that editor usability? How do you really think about it at Strapi?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think developers are completely used to connect tools together, but it's still something which is a bit new for non-technical people. And that totally makes sense. So I think it can be a bit scary at the beginning because, okay, it looks like we are going to have content and data all over the place. And I think it's really important to explain that they will be able to use the best tool for each of their requirements. And even marketers have their favorite tools. They might use that specific marketing tool. They might use segments already, and so on and so on. So explaining them that they will be able to use all of these tools that they already love together without any complexity, and everything will be completely transparent, completely smooth. The only thing they need to do is to enable the integrations here and there, and then everything is working very smooth. Is definitely something that we all have at Uniform, at Strapi. We all have to explain what are the benefits of this, and making them comfortable, because we sometimes see fears around this, because instead of having everything in the same tool, they will have to go through this vendor choice process for all of the different tools, which is, again, I mean, it's a huge benefit, because you can make sure that you pick the right tool for the right need. But it also means that it might take a bit of time, and then how do I make sure that the integrations are going to work well together? And I think it's our role to educate people on the benefits of this new architecture, and also explaining why using Uniform with Strapi is completely transparent, and as soon as you activate the integration, everything is working very well.
I think that point you made around the barriers to composable, or the kind of it can feel quite intimidating if you're coming to it from the idea of, yes, I go and buy my DX stack from one company who can provide everything. It's a very different mindset. How do you explain that? How have you kind of made that case to people before?
Yeah, it is very different. So yeah, what I would recommend is really to highlight the different benefits of this new architecture. So you have much more flexibility, so you can pick the best technology for what you need exactly. And I mean, content management, when we only talk about content management, every company has different needs, and maybe one tool will be the best for that specific use case, and maybe for another use case it will be another one. So having this choice is quite unique, because you can really make your stack, your own stack for your specific project. You also have less vendor lock-in. Let's say that in a few months, in a few years from now, you're not happy anymore with one of these tools. You can easily replace it because it's all about integration. So you will replace that specific tool as part of your stack with something else. And it's very easy, and all the rest will stay. It's not like you're going to migrate and move away from this huge tool that has all of your data, all of your content, and then you have to migrate to something else or different other tools. You just replace one of the bricks, and it's working. So reducing that vendor lock-in is something that is extremely important. And you also have a faster implementation because by selecting the right tools, you can easily integrate them. And because all of the integrations are already available out there, it's very easy. So for example, if you want to add a search engine like Algolia to Uniform or Strapi, you can just pick the integration. Instead of in a monolith architecture, you will have to build the integration by yourself. And now with this new composable architecture, all of the integrations are already available here for you.
And Lars, you and your team have had a lot of conversations about composable architectures, I suspect, with people who are quite new to the concept. How do you explain this whole world to them?
Oh, that's a good question, and maybe also one of the barriers, actually, because to succeed with or even understand the benefits and opportunities of a composable or best-of-breed architecture or tech stack is, you can already hear it. It's a quite tech-driven pitch to give someone or to try to explain. So it is actually quite hard in the beginning for many people, especially people not sitting in a tech organization, to understand what it's actually all about, because in the end it just sounds like another CMS. So to kind of get into talking more about the business value, about what it actually drives, is very important, I think. And this is also why cases like this is important to get out. If you sit in a marketing agency or marketing department, you will maybe from the beginning feel much more taken by the hand with a more full suite system where everything is in the box and it looks great down there, and starting talking about that everything is possible and it's just all about APIs integrations is a hard thing to understand. And also, when you actually have it, you still need to have some quite tech-savvy people or team in your organization to run it and drive it and understand and actually get something out of all the benefits that's in there. So we do focus a lot on talking about the business value, but we also look a lot into the maturity of the organizations in terms of technology and the understanding and the tech savviness that sits there, because we love and we preach composable. We've been doing it since, I think, 2017. The word was not even invented back then, but we also know it isn't the right solution for everyone.
Thank you, Lars. I agree that this is, we're not at the point where composable is the one size fits all solution, much as, we are, several people on this call are very much pushing to get us there eventually. But I think when you find the right fit, I think it just unlocks these new possibilities that, like Patricia said, that they can just move so much faster. And as a marketer, as a less technical person, those possibilities are what gets me excited about doing this. Speaking of excitement, I want to end on asking you all what's really exciting you in the near future. Patricia, what's exciting you about the possibilities of Cobham Satcom's new stack and what you're going to do?
Now we have, all the assets to manage leads from beginning and the end, and we're starting to play with this entire stack, which is exciting and fun for the team. We're doing targeting, nurturing, workflows, assets, lead generation, engine. These things are all live, and that counts a lot for us. Of course, everything needs to be optimized, but a year ago, we couldn't have done some of the projects that we're looking at now because we didn't have, landing pages, which is basically the basis of having a campaign, right? To have leads land on something so we can capture them. And so I think I liked what Pierre said regarding the house. We have that stack now, this house that we can, we can choose the color of the couch. We can change the things in the living room. And I think 7 months ago, we didn't even have a ceiling. So I think what really excites me is, the fact that we have achieved so much so far. And thanks to everyone who was involved. And now we have to arrange it the way we like it. The house that we have built, optimize the site, do some personalization. And I think another part which is really, really important is the fact that it was a huge mountain that we had to go through. And now, months later, this stack that we have now gives us this freedom, this elasticity, and also the speed. And doing things seamless and fast as it is, because of the technology that we have in the background, is basically galvanizing people every day at work. And I think, how a technical tool can change the life of people at work, that really excites me. And it also gives that feeling to everyone involved here at work, in the company, that everything is reachable, it's quicker. And because of that, we see the commitment and engagement of the teams, which is so important for the success of marketing activities. And one more thing, I'm glad that I'm not a tech person, all that tech part, which is, I think, coding and whatnot is a pain. And from our end, we have now fun and, can focus on the things that really matter for the business, and focus on campaigns rather than, on the nitty gritty that, you guys are providing for us. So yeah, if the entire team goes seamless, we can do what we do in the future, and you are free. And having that freedom, I think, really brings the best out of people. So that's my excitement for the future.
I love to see that kind of excitement that the technology has been able to give you, and that enthusiasm that seems so infused in what you're saying, and the Cobham Satcom team about what you can do now. Like, you've been unleashed. I think that's so cool to see. Lars, in the industry, what's exciting you about composable and the world of digital experience?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things to be very excited about. I've been around this industry since its beginning, almost 20 years ago, and I don't think I've ever seen a paradigm shift so fast, or seen things change so fast with that whole, I would always call it, the movement of composable and headless. I mean, for 5-6 years ago, people hardly heard about it, and now it's actually changed in many ways the whole industry, in the way we believe in doing the right architectures and working with it. And now in this whole composable thing, it has a global movement in the MAC organizations and all that. So it's been very delighting to be part of that and play our part in changing that, and for this also into the better. It removes a lot of the barriers that we've seen earlier in terms of taking the pain out of a lot of the technology part. And this, I mean, this is very much true in terms of introducing the whole DXC technology to it, because that is actually the part that takes a lot of the pain out of the quite complex technology that sits behind it, and enables marketeers and communication departments to actually just focus on what is important for them, doing content, working with the communication parts, while we on the backside of that can work with the customizations and integration parts and these things. So I think it's maturing fast. It had a lot of barriers, like any other thing that is new and starts up. It has to kind of find its own ground to stand on, and I think it's moving extremely fast. And I think the DXC addition to this whole world of composable is super important to overcome some of the latest barrier we've seen. So I think there are bright future ahead of composable. I think we will see more really exciting projects out there. On the technical side, I think what I see from our teams, and especially from our data teams, is is the ease it now is to integrate and gather data and components from many various systems and databases and get them into play across the whole tech stack, and how easy that is what is exciting our teams and makes it very cool. So I think there's a lot of good stuff to be excited about, and I'm happy to see what will come next.
I completely agree. And Pierre, what's exciting you about the world of Composable?
Yeah, I can only say that I'm extremely excited about the future of composability. And Patricia, you mentioned that your team are having fun, and to me, this is something that is so important to me. For our companies, we all want excellence. We all want to reach the highest goals. And I think it all starts with people, because to build any project, you need a team, and the more amazing this team will be, the more successful the project will be. And I think to empower these people, you also need the best tools, and you shouldn't be locked into a tool that nobody likes to use and is having pain and making weeks for releasing any new piece of content or doing anything. And I think the most amazing thing for this new, with this new trend around the composable architecture, is that any company, any person can pick the best tool for anything, and that way they enjoy working with these tools. And we spend so much time on our computers every day that it's so important that we will enjoy the journey, and as a result, our companies will be more successful. And I think this is what we are all targeting. So yeah, that's what makes me super excited. Happy people, happy companies, and more performance.
I think that is a lovely note to end on. I think it's, I think we've probably all had that experience sometime where you feel like you're fighting the tools that you have to do the job.
Exactly.
And it's so draining. And then the contrast when it's actually, really propelling you is an amazing feeling. Thank you all so much. This session has been such a pleasure to talk about the possibilities of DXC and really see the human and business impact of building these systems that people love to work with. It's really enthused me, and I hope it has for all of you as well. If you want a marketing team that are as effective and as enthusiastic as Patricia and her team at Cobham Satcom, you can call Lars at Kruso. His team are real experts in bringing DXC to life and making these stacks work incredibly effectively and incredibly quickly. If you want a composable CMS that is going to make your marketers delighted to come to work every day, Strapi is fantastic, and Pierre will always happily talk about it. And if you want to learn more about how DXC and Uniform can bring this all together and really unlock a lot of that speed and marketer experience and that adaptability, I am always happy to chat, as are my entire team the entire team here at Uniform. And if you are looking to spend a lot of time on the ocean or any body of water and need some great antennas and terminals that are going to help you do that, Cobham Satcom are the people to call. You actually don't call them. Check out their incredible new website. Thank you all. I have really enjoyed this session, and I will hand the audience here back to Kathy and the rest of DXC Assembly.